If you've ever been in a dressing room after a fight, you know that it's not sanitized. You know that it carries God knows what germs, and if you start taking blood there, there's a risk of infection. Now, maybe you solve that by having the blood test the next day in a sanitized facility. Secondly, if you take blood, and we really haven't established that the blood is more effective than urine, which is not invasive and which is done largely in Olympic testing. But if you take blood, who takes the blood? A nurse takes the blood. You guys ever been taking a physical when they take your blood, to test it, medical examination? How many times did the damn nurse miss the vein or can't find the vein? And your arm becomes all blue, and then you can't really use it without it hurting you for the next 3 or 4 days. How many times has it happened? It's happened to me. Now, I ain't a damn fighter. I don't have to go in a ring and spar and so forth. So there is this danger that when you take blood, when a man is training, that you'll screw up his arm and prevent him from really training for the fight for 3 or 4 days. Anyway, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I'm just throwing that thing out. But that's for a commission to decide, just as when we have a dispute over a legal issue, we go before a judge who decides that dispute, not a group of writers, many of whom don't know what the hell they're writing about, and they take a position based on God knows what. The easiest thing that some writers hear, which I'm really embarrassed, he asked for the test, do the test, and let's do the fight. Everything be damned, let's have the fight. What is the issue?
The issue wasn't Manny's fear of needles. It was actually Floyd's not going to the commission and not asking for permission.
That's the way I framed it. With Manny, he wasn't afraid of needles. That's nonsense. It was the drawing of the blood. It's different when you have needles and at your leisure you get a tattoo. That's different from drawing of the blood.
Do you think there's a cloud of suspicion in some people's minds about Manny Pacquiao?
It's the same cloud of suspicion that, I don't know, none of you will remember this, but I grew up in the McCarthy era. And when Joe McCarthy held up a piece of paper and he says, I have the names of 90 people in the State Department who were communists, was there a cloud over people in the State Departments? Yeah, there was a cloud who was people drinking the Kool-Aid of McCarthy. So if you're drinking the Kool-Aid here, yeah, there'll be a cloud. But as far as those people are concerned, they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Why do you think he's doing this?
Who?
Mayweather.
Number one, he didn't really want to fight. He didn't want to fight. If you want to fight, and I made the mistake, because when that came up, I shouldn't have said, hey, I would, let's work it out. And we had 30 days, 24 days, and then he insisted on 14 days, and then after we went from 30, we 24, and then he wouldn't move from 14. None of that shit mattered. 14, 24, 30, it was all the same, for Christ's sake. But he stuck, and positions were taken for no reason, and it indicated to me that he never, ever wanted to fight.
It looks like, Bob, that Mayweather and Mosley are going to fight, and Mosley's going to go along with the random testing. If Mayweather beats Mosley and Mosley goes along with the random testing, would Pacquiao do the same?
No, only if a commission orders it. If Mosley goes along with the random testing, that's up to Mosley. But at least in Mosley's case, he was an admitted drug user.
What do you think about him saying that Manny's is questionable in terms of drugs?
Well, I think that's despicable, and that'll be decided in court. There's a defamation suit, and there is not one even remote iota of proof that Manny has ever had anything whatsoever to do with illegal substances.
Mosley's not being sued at this point, right?
Who?
Mosley himself.
Why would he be sued?
Well, I mean, he said that Manny's questionable
Who
in terms
said?
of drugs. Shane Mosley said it
When did he say
a
that?
couple days ago. He said questionable in terms of drug use.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, when we have to worry about a Shane Mosley, I mean that's absurd.
Is this fight hard to sell against Floyd?
No, this fight will do well over 1 million homes. This fight will be held in one of the great facilities in this country. This fight will be held in Middle America, and this fight will pull a tremendous audience of people that follow Manny Pacquiao, people that want to see a good fight, and we're going to have a great, great Hispanic undercard.
So you guys looked at Malignaggi, and then you looked at...
Now, Malignaggi, we looked at Malignaggi, but we didn't feel that Malignaggi would be considered competitive for...
What about Foreman? How do you arrive at...
We looked at Foreman, and and I think Freddie was okay with Foreman, and Manny looked at the films of Foreman's fight with Santos, and he said that Foreman was too big for him to take on at this time.
If all your conditions are met with Mayweather, would you still consider Mayweather?
No. I mean, there are other people out there that I think will make interesting fight. There's a guy who'll be back on track very soon this year. His name is Antonio Margorito, and he would make, I think, a very good opponent for Manny Pacquiao.
Well, at this point, you don't want to, make that fight, but even
It's
later
not
on
a
this year,
question
you don't
of wanting to make the fight. We're not going to put up with the nonsense. Period. We're not going to put up with the nonsense, and I'm certainly not going to put up with ignorant writers saying, and others saying, he asked for the test, take the test and do the fight. He asked for you to jump on 1 foot down Broadway, do it and do the fight. Who the hell is he to ask us for anything?
But the public seems to want.
Who? You're the public? You represent the public? That is not the case. Sure, the public would love the fight to happen, but it will only happen properly and under the rules of the Athletic Commission where the fight would be held. And the Mayweather camp, throughout this whole thing, wanted to have everything one way, their way. When we arranged to go to Dallas to go to see this magnificent facility, Cowboy Stadium, at the last minute they refused to get on the plane.
Did you ever get
Why?
a reason for that?
Yeah, Mayweather wanted to fight in Las Vegas. He wanted to stay at home. I mean, even the name of the fight, they were insisting be called Mayweather-Pacquiao, even though they were fighting for Pacquiao's title. And then he started giving everybody a hard time about that it shouldn't be for the WBO title. You know, it was one thing after another. It wasn't just this drug testing.
Was drug testing brought up at the beginning of the
No,
negotiations?
I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have gone to the Philippines
Right.
if it was.
With Margarito, you had a wait-and-see attitude to see if it was proven that there was wrongdoing. Now that it's pretty clear-cut that if there was some stuff going on there, has your attitude changed about Margarito?
No, Margarito, when it was established that something improper was inserted in his hand wraps. The commission in California found that Margarito was unaware of that, and the inspectors found and testified that he was unaware.
So does the blame go to
But that he was subject to having his license revoked because, as California said, he was the captain of his ship and he is responsible for what his corner did. I think that was wrong, but that's what they said. Now that means that Margorito is free under the ABC rules to apply for a license in any state, and the state can grant him or not grant him the license. There's no requirement that he go back to California.